All right, folks, welcome back to Procreate. So this is going to be a little bit of a walkthrough demonstration. So this one will last at least one video, maybe even two. Now, what I've included in your download files is this partially finished sketch of some sort of a dinosaur eye, some sort of a demon eye, whatever you want to call it, right? We're going to show you how to use the elephant texture brush that you made in the course in order to pull off this warp effect and show you why this is just so awesome. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'd like you guys to go ahead and open up this particular image. And now what we're going to do, we're going to come over here and we're going to add a layer. So we're going to add a layer and we're going to call this texture 1. And you know how to do this. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock all of these other layers. And again, you know that this is not in a finished state, right? This is one of these whole things. Do a quick sketch, see what you got. So the texture 1, we're now going to come to our pencils and we're going to look for the texture brush. We're going to look for the animal texture brush. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open this up and you'll see where my movement is. You'll see where my stroke is, my spacing. I'm at about 46%. I've got my opacity and my size all the way up. Got my stroke, my shape behavior here, my grain, my dynamics, my pencil, my general settings, and my source file. Now, you guys have made this before. Now, what we're going to do here, I'm now going to come over to my greens, and I'm going to drop down to a pretty substantial dark green. Maybe even, we're bordering on black right there. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my brush up a little bit. And now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in right there, just like that. All right. So, now, with the texture layer selected, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply that out. And I'm going to grab my eraser now. I'm going to make sure my soft airbrush is selected. And I'm going to erase away all the areas where I do not want this texture to be. Okay. So I'm going ahead and erasing that away. All right. Now, this is where warp comes in handy. Watch this. Making sure my texture layer is selected. I come over here and I grab the warp. And now I can start working it through here. I'm even going to grab the advanced layer and you see how now I can start stretching this around kind of where I want it to be. So I can pull it down where I want it to be. I can pull this up where I need it to be. And now I can move this down a little bit. And you see how I've got it flowing the direction of the brow. This is absolutely a game changer, folks. And then once you got it where you want it, call it a day and deselect it. Now, let's go ahead and do another one. We're going to go ahead and grab another texture layer. And now, I want this to be even a little bit darker still. So I'm dropping down. And now, I want it to be a little bit smaller in terms of my pattern. Making sure I got a new layer. And let's go ahead now and bring that in just like that. And again, now I want to go ahead and erase everywhere out where I don't want it to be. And go ahead and work through that. Now, see what I'm doing here? I'm actually cultivating a couple different textures inside. Now again, I select this, I go to my transform, I go to my warp. And now I shift it down and I shift it around until I get it pretty much where I want it. You see how everything that was done here, I'm keeping it relatively free of the bottom of that eye. This is the beauty of warp right there. Look at that. Whole different game changer. All right, let's go ahead and do two more. We're going to go to layer 7 here. So we create a new layer. I grab the same elephant brush that I had. And now I want it to be a little bit bigger. And I want it to be maybe a little bit more light, because I might want a light source there. All right. So now let's go ahead down through here. Okay, so once we got that, we come over, make sure the layer is selected. We grab our warp. And now we can shift it so that we get the area where we want the area. See how I've almost framed out that brow really nice? That's huge. All right, I think we're pretty good shape there. Let's go ahead and do one more here. And I'm going to go kind of with an off gray this time. I think I really want it to be kind of a greenish gray. And let's go ahead and crank that up just a little bit. And all I'm doing now is just kind of blending it around the outside. All right, now you can do as much as you want there. I obviously went to the gray with that. Now one thing I might do here real quick, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unlock. You see I've got my sketch layer here. I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. All right, so that looks pretty good there. You see the power of the warp in its ability to make things happen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go down underneath all of these texture layers. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm going to go underneath all of these texture layers. And you've seen this show before. I'm going to come up with kind of a greenish yellow, something around right in here. And let's go ahead and change the blend mode. We're going to go ahead and we're going to lighten this out. And now what we're going to do, we're going to come over with our painting. Let's go ahead and just grab a round brush. I modified it a little bit, nothing substantial. And we're going to drop our opacity. See here how I'm just kind of lightening some of these areas? Let's go ahead and change that over to like a screen. There we go. I'm able to work underneath the blend modes. Let's go ahead and throw a little bit of white here. Now I'm just going to add in a few white highlights. See how we're making use of the texture brush that you guys made earlier? There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with this. And it's all thanks to that whole warp function. Okay, now I'm going to show you something real cool here. We're just going to wrap this thing up. I'm going to come down here now. And now, I know I've told you guys to work non-destructively in the past. I'm going to work destructively. I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to unlock them all. And I'm going to pinch them all together to form one solid layer. And now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to liquefy. And we're going to push. And I'm going to blend this stuff out. Let's kind of give it a little bit of backdrop here. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go with a really hard and firm texture on this thing, because I knew I was going to just kind of touch the edges with this here. And you see how I'm creating contrast there? I've got really good texture in the middle, and then toward the end there it gets a little bit hazy. Now, I'm going to press it one more area. If you like this, you don't have to do this part. I'm going to grab a twist. I'm going to go ahead and twist this guy just like that. And you see how I'm actually creating a little bit of texture and a little bit of interest inside of that eye. That is super cool. All right, so I think we're pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and crank that size up one more time. All right, folks, so hope you learned a little bit of something. I'm going to go here one step further. I can't leave well enough alone, guys. I got a serious problem here. All right, folks. Hope you learned a little something. I think this is one of the coolest things out there in Warp, and there's a perfect application for it. All right, we'll see you in the next lessons. I'd love to see what you did. Go ahead and drop us a line there in the Q&A or send it over to us in the assignments folder. All right, we'll see you in the next one.